Relationship with the US grew increasingly antagonistic over the years, and he refused to sign a bilateral security agreement, which Ghani signed as one of the first actions after he came into power a little over a year ago. And so Ghani and the US are in closer cooperation, and when the US carries out operations as they do in Kunduz, it is with the blessing of the Afghan government, and it's also in close cooperation with Afghan troops on the ground. So that's probably one explanation why the Afghan government is not as critical as, for example, Hamid Karzai would have been.
We know that President Obama is currently reviewing plans for the withdrawal of U.S. troops, all combat troops, by the end of 2016. That's under review. But do we know what the Afghans want? Do we know what they're hoping to see happen?
The Afghan government agrees with General Campbell, the top U.S. general here in Afghanistan, that the planned troop withdrawal at the end of next year is premature, and that it essentially will leave the Afghan security forces very vulnerable, not only to attacks from the Taliban, but also to the growing presence of militant groups like Daesh or Islamic State, which are increasingly present in the east of the country. So many Afghan security officials here are recommending that the American forces and NATO forces in general prolong their presence here in the country. Now, many people would say that at some point the U.S. will have to withdraw from Afghanistan, and when, if next year is not the right time, then when is? But that's going to be a discussion that will have to be taken many times, I expect, over the next year.
The question then becomes, should those troops remain on the ground, what's that relationship going to be like going forward, given what has just happened in Kunduz?
Yes, and that's also going to be up for review, I think. But judging from the response so far from the Afghan government, this is not necessarily going to be hugely damaging to the relationship between the Afghan government and the U.S. forces. Now, this might damage the way that ordinary Afghans look at the U.S. military, naturally. They've gone through 14 years now of war, where we've seen repeated incidents of great civilian losses at the hands of the U.S. military, and a lot of people are suspicious of U.S. here, and as we saw in Kunduz, we didn't need General Campbell to come out and affirm that this had been a U.S. airstrike. A lot of Afghans simply assumed that it was, and every time one of these incidents happened, well, then animosity towards foreign troops, or at least the suspicion towards them, grows, and that also rubs off on the Afghan government, which loses legitimacy in the eyes of many people, not of everyone, but of many people. So the relationship between the U.S. military and the Afghan government might remain strong over the next year. But if these incidents keep happening, this could affect the relationship between the international troops and the civilian population.
Sneh Ingo Rasmussen joining us there from Kabul with some important perspective. Appreciate it. Thank you.
To the war in Syria now, and growing fears of Russia's